This is the story of Bruno Fernandes, a man who had everything, threw it all away, and somehow tried to come back. Bruno Fernandes wasn't just any footballer, he was one of Brazil's most promising goalkeepers. He played for Flamengo, one of the biggest clubs in South America. He had millions of fans, a lucrative contract, and a bright future ahead of him. He was living the dream that millions of kids could only imagine. But behind the fame and the glory, Bruno was living a double life, and it was about to unravel in the most horrific way possible. In 2009, Bruno met a young woman named Eliza. She was a model and actress. They began a relationship and it was turbulent from the start. Bruno was already in another relationship and had a family. When Eliza became pregnant with Bruno's child, everything changed. She wanted him to acknowledge the baby. She wanted financial support. She wanted him to take responsibility. Bruno had other plans. According to later testimonies, Bruno saw Eliza and the baby as threats to his career, his reputation, and his existing family. He wanted them gone, not just out of his life, gone permanently. June 2010, Eliza disappeared. Her family reported her missing. They told police she was last seen with Bruno. The authorities started investigating, and what they uncovered was beyond imagination. Here's what happened. According to the investigation and confessions, Bruno and his associates lured Eliza to a ranch outside Rio. They told her they wanted to talk about the baby, about support, about working things out. But when she arrived, there was no negotiation. According to testimony from Bruno's cousin, Luis Henrique, Eliza was held captive at the ranch. She was tortured, she was murdered, and then they tried to make her disappear completely. Her body was dismembered. Parts were fed to Bruno's Rottweiler dogs. Other parts were buried in concrete. Some remains were never found. Eliza's 4-month-old baby was found alive, hidden with a couple who had been caring for him, unaware of what had happened to his mother. When the police closed in, Bruno was arrested in July 2010. The story exploded across Brazil and around the world. A famous footballer, a brutal murder, and a cover-up so horrific it seemed unbelievable. During interrogation, Bruno initially denied everything, but as evidence mounted, the truth came out piece by piece. Bruno's cousin confessed to strangling Eliza. Bruno's friend confessed to helping dispose of the body, and Bruno himself was implicated in planning and ordering the entire thing. In March 2013, Bruno was convicted of kidnapping, concealing a corpse, forming a criminal organization. He was sentenced to 22 years in prison. You'd think that's where the story ends. A monster behind bars, justice served, end of story. But this is where it gets even more disturbing. In 2017, after serving just 7 years, Bruno was released on a legal technicality while his appeal was being processed. And then something shocking happened. A football club called Boa Esporte signed him. Yes, a professional football club gave a convicted murderer a contract. They justified it by saying everyone deserved a second chance and that he had served his time, even though he hadn't even finished his sentence. The backlash was immediate and massive. Sponsors pulled out. Women's rights groups protested. The club eventually terminated his contract after just 2 months. But here's the thing, other clubs still signed him after that. Between 2017 and 2019, Bruno actually played professional football again. Lower division clubs, smaller crowds, but he was back on the pitch. In interviews, he showed little remorse. He claimed he was innocent. He said he was the real victim because the justice system and the media destroyed his career. He never expressed genuine sorrow for Eliza, never took full responsibility, never showed empathy for the child who would grow up without a mother. In 2019, his conviction was upheld and he was ordered back to prison. He was released again in 2020 after serving more time, and he's been trying to revive his career since. Let's talk about what happened to everyone else. Eliza. Her remains were never fully recovered. Her family never got to properly bury her. She was 25 years old. The baby, now a teenager, being raised by Eliza's family, growing up knowing his father murdered his mother. Bruno still claims he's innocent, still trying to play football. still has supporters who defend him, and that's perhaps the most disturbing part of this whole story. The Bruno Fernandes case isn't just about one footballer and one crime, it's about how we as a society deal with violence against women. It's about celebrity and privilege. It's about whether talent should outweigh character. And somewhere in Brazil, there's a teenage boy who will never know his mother, who will grow up knowing exactly what happened to her and who was responsible. That's the real tragedy in all of this. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.